Hey, how's it going? How y'all doing today? Hey, so what I want to do is I wanted to make a quick video about what's your motivation. I'm going to share with you what my motivation is. So, again, totally going to be 100% vulnerable. If I could give you any advice, if I can give anyone any advice, is that you should have a point in your life where you could reach back to a memory or a thought and say, this is my motivation. And y'all, this is one of my big points. So, this is hard for me to talk about. Like I've shared with you before, I'm a big guy. I've always been big. When I got married, I was like 300 pounds. Oh, 300 pounds! I'm sure some people that hear 300 pounds are thinking, oh, good Lord, that's a lot of weight. That's a big boy. When I was like 16 years old, I was probably 250 pounds. I was playing football. I was super lean, all muscle. And when I married my wife, I thought I've always had issues with my body image. I always thought I was fat. But I looked pictures of our wedding day, and now I'm 42, and back then I was 25 or so, or 26, something like that. And I look back, I'm like, man, I wish I could get back to that weight. See, for me, that's my goal. Now, that's not my motivation, even though that is part of my motivation. But I want to share kind of my motivation story. So, a couple years ago, well, last year actually, I was in the hospital and I got really sick. I've shared it with you before on another video, but I'm diabetic, type 2 diabetic. I got an infection in my leg. It actually spread to both legs. It was so bad I went into shock, basically, sepsis, and the doctors were actually even concerned might have had to take my leg. It was getting gangrene. Scary, scary, scary. Y'all, on a side note, septic shock's a real thing. You need to notice that. It can save your life by going in the hospital. Do not let yourself go into septic shock. Septic shock is actually one of the #1 killers of all people in not America, but the world. It's how a lot of people die. So just side note, septic shock is something that you need to think about. So it means take care of yourself. Anyway, when I was in the hospital, I was in there for 1 week at one point, got out for a couple months, had to go back for another week, intravenous IV of antibiotics and steroids to heal my body. Y'all, it was real scary. And you would have thought that would have been the point. But the point that I'm going to share with you is this. So as I was in the hospital, my aunt was doing all this really cool genealogy stuff. And I knew that my grandfather, my great-grandfather, had passed away at an early age. And I've always been told I look like my father. I've always been told I look like my grandpa. I'm actually technically a fourth of my name, my exact name. My dad has my name. And, technically I'm a fourth. That's kind of weird. I have 3, but long story short. Anyway, my grandfather's father passed away when he was my age. He was 42 years old. And I'm going to show a picture of him right now. In this picture, we're like twins. We look exactly the same. I kind of have a feeling that my great-grandfather was probably the same body weight and the same build as me. And I'm not putting him down in any way, shape, or form. I'm actually going to be talking about why this is inspiration for me. So his wife, when they were in their 40s, was my great-grandma, was an amazing woman, had 12 children, was a pillar in the community. My grandfather's mom was just legendary. Y'all, I have so many relatives because of her. They had 12 kids. When she passed away, it was like 200 grandchildren, 250 great-grandchildren, something crazy. So y'all, in California, I'm related to everybody. Well, like I mentioned before, my family was one of the first families in California, Spanish, so I'm actually Native American in Spanish. But my great-grandmother came to America on a wagon from Mexico to California to meet her husband, and they came to America to create a good life back in the, I guess would be the 40s or so. Y'all, that's an amazing story. You find out your grandmother came on the wagon trail, basically, to America to start a new life. And here her husband's already working in America, and they make 12 beautiful children. And this is the point where I want to share with you. My grandfather died of a massive heart attack, and he was in his 40s, and he looked just like me. And when my aunt was sharing this picture, and I was sitting, basically in the hospital for that second time, it was like the biggest bag of bricks just falling on my head. And I knew that I cannot do that to my wife. I knew that I couldn't do it to myself. My dad died at a really young age. He was 52. And I've shared this before. It's part of my testimony. There's a testimony video if you want to see that. And maybe I'll link that as well. But my dad was a drug user. He was a child of the 70s. He was a mobster. It's true. He did many years in jail. Stuff like armed robbery, selling drugs as a drug dealer. It's one of the reasons why I became a Christian. It's one of the reasons why I have the life I have now, because it was kind of like watching my dad go through the stuff he went through. It was like that show, like Scared Straight, where you're like, they take the kids into prisons and stuff and scare them. I ended up working with drug rehabilitation programs, and I've worked with Salvation Army, and I've been in New York, and I've worked with Union Rescue Mission out in California with homeless and folks really dealing with a lot of addiction problems. And thank God I was never addicted to drugs, never had lived that lifestyle. Was a pastor and went to Bible college. And I'm an insurance agent. I'm a boring guy. But, what I'm trying to say is that knowing that my grandfather passed away like that, and then even knowing my dad passed away like that, yes, drugs were a contributing factor. But I'm saying that there's certain things that you can't run away with. Sometimes we have genes in us that do affect our life, but it's about modifying our behaviors to move forward. And that's the one thing I'm learning, and that's my big motivation right now. And that's what I want to motivate you with. I want you right now to think about, what's your motivation? Is your motivation simply buying certain clothes? I was telling my wife, one of my motivations also is I want to go to Disney World and buy a tiki shirt or Hawaiian shirt that's just off the rack. That I don't have to worry about it being not my size. That might not be what you're thinking. It could be walking to a certain place, riding a bike, doing something you used to do before. Maybe you're not like me. Maybe you don't have a lot of weight you need to lose. I'm in a situation where this is intervention time for me. And the reason why I'm doing this video is to keep myself accountable. But maybe it's just feeling healthy. My wife and I had this huge conversation. She talked about wanting to lose weight. I'm like, you don't need to lose weight. I love you. This is perfect. I like a curvy woman. That's crazy. But she said, no, I want to do it for myself to feel healthy. And I can't argue with that. So, again, you might not be in the same situation I'm in. So I'm going to encourage you all just to find a reason why you want to do it. And every time I've been able to get a really great accountability partner, a nurse that's helping me out with doing food prepping and giving me great ideas. But I'm going to encourage you, first thing, find someone to keep you accountable. Big thing. Find someone to keep you accountable. Second thing, use a time in your life that you're going to look back on for your motivation. So when you're having a hard day, and trust me, I've had some hard days just even this last month or so of doing this. Think about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that picture of my great-grandfather on my phone, and anytime I need motivation, I'm going to look at that, because I'm going to think about, I don't want to die. I don't want to die at a young age and leave my wife as a widow. I want to see my grandchildren. My son's 15 years old. What are you planning? I want to be there. My dad's dad outlived my father. He's in his 90s. He's a cancer survivor. He had bypass surgery, had a big heart attack when he was in his 40s or 30s, and he changed his life. Got himself healthy. Had cancer once or twice after that. That's the kind of man I want to be. It's a big man and big shoes to fill. My grandfather literally has an American Legion named after him, and he's worked with veterans and actually had been cited by Congress as a good citizen for his work with veterans. I want to be able to look into my future and think about that. I want to be that type of man. So I'm going to share a quick scripture verse with you, because I always like to share a quick scripture verse, and because I think it's important. And like I've said before, I hope that you get something out of this. More than anything, I just really want to help even one person, like I mentioned before. So this is this scripture is out of Proverbs. It's chapter 6, and this one is literally this hit me the other day. Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Again, you know, wisdom is her. My wife loves that. Which, having no captain, oversees or ruler, provides her supplies in the summer, and gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you slumber, O sluggard? When you rise from your sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall you provide. So shall your poverty come on you like the prowler, at your need like an armored man. Okay. Basically, y'all, I was doing some food prepping, and I was thinking about ants. And I was thinking about this little things that I'm doing right now. Going in, making chicken in the air fryer, having it set aside, setting up good habits. One of the big things I'm doing is focus on having more spread out meals, controlling exactly my calorie intake, looking at carbs like a crazy fool. That's the kind of stuff that is the preparation that I need to be successful. And it says, in the Bible, it says, look at the ant. They're preparing for that time. So I want y'all to do that. Hey, I really appreciate it. Hope you got inspired by this video. Leave a comment below. Give me some inspiration. Let me know there's something I could pray or think about for you. And, y'all, I just hope that you do the best. And remember, have something that is your trigger point that will push you forward. Thanks so much.